Okay, friends, welcome from Nigeria and all over the world. I'd like to welcome you to this very broadcast. Talking about COVID-19, I want to say a few words that will help you benefit and take advantage of the season where we find ourselves. Now, this is my first broadcast on this, and I'd like to say a few words. I'm dealing actually with how do I benefit from this sit-at-home period of time. Now, there are a few steps you will need to take for you to take proper advantage of this period and then come out at the other side a better person. Now, beyond the health cautions, I would like to give you key things, 7 major things you need to do to be able to come out with advantage at the end of this whole process. Now, 7 major things. We've already known the situation of Nigeria, currently what is going on, and I'd like to let you know that God has an agenda, God has a plan with all of this. So I'd like you to know that part of what He wants to achieve is called global worship. God wants to be praised in all nations, in all people group, in all tongues and kindred, everywhere in the nations. So if you begin to see what's going on, some of these nations that have rejected the entrance of the word of God before now and the reign of Jesus are now beginning to open up because they need Jesus to be able to sort out this issue. If you notice, nations are shut down, governments are shut down, confused, they don't know what to do. So I'd like to talk more on the other side, on the things you need to do to take advantage of this period. Number one thing you need to do is that, number one, you will need to intensify your fellowship with both God and man. Now, these two things. Number one, this period is for you to be able to go deeper in fellowship with God. You will need to go a little more deeper. I want to use that word deeper because probably you've been doing that to your own ability. And for some people, they've not even been doing that at all. They don't have time for the things of God, but now you have to have time because there is so much time, right? So now I'd like for you to take a couple of time every day to fellowship with God. God is seeking your attention. Now, know that He created you for a reason. He's trying to get you to the point where you begin to act in line with purpose. He's trying to get you to that point where you worship Him, you become His instrument for transforming nations. And that is His, attention for you. So now, when you fellowship with God, part of what happens to you is that, the divinity of God rubs out on you. So it's important now that you have all the time available to make sure every day you have time for spiritual activities. One of it is you need to study the Word of God. So daily, you search through the scriptures. You pay attention to the Word. You take your time to read the Bible. You cannot say you don't have time now. You are from the morning to the evening hours. You find time to study. Now, this is the time you need to grow spiritually. Number 2 is your prayer life. God wants to see you develop more in your area of prayer life. So you wake up early in the morning, then you take your time to pray. Of course, family prayer is very important. Remember, I said fellowship with both God and man. Okay, so you grow in your prayer, you grow in your worship, you grow in your meditation. So number 3 there in point 1 is your meditation. Your ability to sit down to review your life. What exactly is going on with me? Where am I now? What is it I should be doing? And all of that. It's important you review your life. Review your service life to God. Have you been serving God or have you been enjoying yourself? So look at all of this. This is the time for that. And then take key decisions that will help you to become a person of purpose on earth. So look at all of this and decide to go deeper in serving God and in growing in things of God. Now, relationship with man, especially for those that are married, there's a time for you to fellowship with your family. When I use the word fellowship, it means you stay with them. For example, with your kids, you need to know them the more. Especially if they've grown up to a level from 2 years and above, there's a time for vision casting. There's a time you find out what's on their heart, and play with them and, have time to really stay there with them because all that's why you've not been having time. So now you have all the time to become more deeper and, of course, become a friend or their friend and then grow fellowship. Of course, you need to lead them in the place of prayer. So every morning, make sure you have a family prayer time and all of that. That's if you've not been doing that before. So these are very important things. Number 2 thing is that you need to use your technology at this time for the glory of God. You need to use your gadget, your technology, your phone, all your social media and begin to talk about the glory of God. Talk about the things that promote God. God is seeking for global worship. In Revelation chapter 7 verse 9, it talks about every people group, tongues, nation, kindred, coming back on the last day to give him worship. So first of all, for that to happen, you need to get, closer to God. You need to get your life fixed. You need to get born again, and it's very important for you. So use your social media, use your platform to talk to people. We are actually at the end time. Things are gradually winding up. So use your social media to the glory of God. This is not the time to post, comedies and all of that. You will need to be more creative. You need to be more purposeful. God wants to see everybody now pay attention to him. And you make sure you are part of this. Number 3 is that you will need to dare some difficult things. I just want to challenge somebody today. Probably all this while there are things you wanted to, to do, but you don't have all the time, or you don't have the courage to do that. You will need to dare that project. You need to even start from the thought process, to think about it, to believe it's possible, and then begin to develop concept about it. So what are those difficult things you refuse to do? For example, you are supposed to have written a book. You have not done that. All this why? So you have the time now. All the experiences you've gathered over the years, this is the time for you to pen them down. You are supposed to learn a skill. You're supposed to go through, a program or something. And all this while you've given yourself excuses why it is not possible. Now it's very possible. So take out time to dare that very thing that looks tough. Dare that very thing. Start from the thought process. Think about it, pen it down, and then begin to see how far you can go about it. Of course, talk to people about it, and it's going to be amazing to you. There are people that have great insight in that very thing you have been planning to do. So stop planning, act now. And of course, number 4, you need to make contact. This period is for making contact. If you notice a lot of people are at home, there's a time to talk to that, MD. There's a time to talk, make a call to that your uncle that have always been busy, that works in Shell. There's a time to relate with other family members. There's a time to actually find business platforms and opportunities with people. If there is an MD, there is a CEO, there is a head of department somewhere, somebody you've been looking out to see how you're going to get connected to. The guy has time now. Yeah, I must tell you. So if you put that call through, there's always a tendency that he will be able to pick, So don't waste your time. If you're a business person, this is a time to develop concepts that you will need to begin to market. I got a call from the other day, probably 2 days ago, somebody trying to make sell off something to me, a proposal, and all of that, talking to me about a product. So this is a time for you to actually talk to people about the things you do and the things you can do. Don't just sit down. That's why they call it work from your home. And you can do anything from that your home, so far you have your system with you. So make sure you don't go sleeping and just relaxing all the day. There is time for that, but you also need to think thoroughly for you to be able to develop other things that will be beneficial to you after this whole day. If you look at the nation of China now, they are back on their feet, and of course they've started producing. So probably these guys actually planned all of this. Nevertheless, you plan your own phase, because this has come to pass, and once it's done, you will need to become more wealthier and more better than the way you were when you step into this situation. The number 4, develop projects. Think about projects. This is a time to challenge your dream. This is a time to look at problems existing and then find better solutions. At the end of all of this, new economies, new platforms are emerging. What are you going to be part of? For example, the online sales and online trainings and online all of that will get a boost. There's a lot of new emerging economy on platforms and industry that are going to emerge from this situation. The question is, what problems are you going to be solving, or what better ways are you going to solve the existing problems that your company is addressing and all of that. So don't just sit there and relax and say, oh, I've gone to rest. You are not just expected to rest. You're expected to think and innovate and get new concepts, develop the one better, and of course, keep moving forward. So engage your mind, engage your thoughts, engage people, engage your environment. I don't say start moving around, but there are people around you could talk to. There's tendency for them to have the great ideas you've been looking for. Study environment, ask questions around. Now you have the time for that. So find out what has been going on that requires solution, and how can we step on board to help. Then, of course, number 6, if I'm correct, get into personal development. There's a time to challenge yourself to get into personal development. That professional course you've been running away from, saying you don't have time, there's a time to go about it. There are a lot of them you need to do. You need to do leadership, you need to do project management, you need to do HSC course, you need to do HRM, all of that. This is a time for you to find an online, platform and then get involved. Stop giving excuses. So the life of people sometimes gets stagnant because of multiple excuses in their mouth. This is the time to kill the excuses and then forge ahead. Think differently within these few days you're going to be at home. So personal development, the books you are going to read, 7 books at least. You bring them out and then begin to go through them and pen down the key things you're learning and the key decisions you're making. It's very important. So don't just read a book for reading's sake, and at the end of the day, you just put it somewhere. What are the thoughts? What are the action points you're getting from the book? Is so important. You must come out from this whole sit at home a better person. And that is what we desire for you. That is what I personally desire to see you become. And that is very important. So you need to look at online platforms where you can offer trainings, the kind of books you need to read, the movies you need to watch, educative movies that will train you and teach you new concept, business concept. Don't just watch for watching sake. So you need to develop yourself. Lastly, number 7, develop a 3-year plan from now. If you don't have one already, sit down and develop a 3-year